I need a haircut. Why I love my mom. You can put this on YouTube. I said to my mom the other day, I was like, hey mom, I ran out of my gel because I put 4 pounds of it in my hair. We'll keep it up. And I go to my mom, I was like, hey mom, my hair is like really spiky. Like, do you think it looks okay? She's like, no, you look stupid. And you know, if she didn't make really good lubia and like a lot of other awesome treats that I get to bring back to New York, I would have been very mad. But she gets forgiven because she's honest. I think it's the refugee thing. So this is called Religious Harmony. And I grew up in Western Massachusetts. I went to Catholic school my whole life. And this is supposed to be a funny piece as well. I was having a conversation with a Jewish guy for about a half an hour. And we were talking about Israel-Palestine. You know, I try to be like angry in the poems and then like I'll hug you afterwards. You know, I don't like confrontation. Okay, not really, but you know what I mean. And so we're going on back and forth for about a half an hour, and after he's like, you know, are you Sunni or Shia? And I was like, what? He's like, are you Sunni or Shia? Now that's like deserving of a slap in the face as it is. Like, how can any like Iraqi kid that lives in America gets that question 100 times a day? But I was like, oh, I'm neither. And he's like, oh, what are you? And I was like, well, you know, like I'm not like too religious, but I grew up Greek Orthodox. And he's like, oh, I get it. I was like, what do you mean you get it? Now, for anybody else that doesn't get it, he was thinking that I was one of the reasonable ones. And if anybody's ever had a conversation where religion gets involved and people start to assume you're one thing, and then they decide that, oh, okay, so I wrote this poem. Comedians are smart. They'll pull together like all this different kind of stuff, and they'll be like, wow, like let me build the story. Me, like you say one thing, it pisses me off, and I write a poem about you. So this is my poem called Religious Harmony. They say I'm one of the good ones. You can't tell by my skin color, but it's inherent in my breath. Heart soft, temper mellow, enlightened from fingertips to welcoming smile. And yet I don't have enough ink, don't have enough minutes, years, or lifetimes to write down all their names written in red on the wall. Slaughtered. If I hear one more jackass ask my religion and think that one or the other would define and shape my worldview, I'm going to flood their people, kill their firstborn, burn some witches, and have them drink at a separate water fountain, because I'm a real Christian, just like you, turned perverted into pedagogy. This Jewish guy tells me my grandparents were just as oppressed by his grandparents by the Muslims in Palestine. Really? Last I checked, it was Jewish rifles held against temples that dispossessed Haifa and Jaffa. Erdogan and Stern gang bombings that formed an ethnocentric state that didn't recognize Muslims or Christians as equals. Ayan Hirsi Ali wants to talk about dhimmis, but conveniently forgets Palestinian third-class status as the indigenous population. Not going to have some hypocritical house rep tell me what's wrong with all those Muslims. Not going to have some hypocritical house rep tell me what's wrong with all those Muslims. Maybe I'll start listening to him when he stops starving Jesus is poor, aborting black and Latino lives on death row, and overstepping the homeless people on the way into his Whole Foods. And for the so-called high and mighty secularists, just because you don't call it a religion doesn't mean radical capitalism hasn't destroyed this nation. With your grimy bankers and bailouts, liberals didn't mind destroying a country when they thought they could do it on the cheap, and plant a Starbucks on every street corner, then blame George Bush when crap hit the fan. Now, I don't know if this is a PSA or a poem, but I was raised Christian and still can't see how that matters. Hear Friday prayers walk into the subway in Brooklyn, visit every corner in Jerusalem, never knew religion by name but have faith in my people, know that xenophobia is in vogue, and I've never been that cool. But then again, maybe this all emanates from a predetermined religious worldview that I'm predisposed to based on my Christian roots. But then again, maybe it's more simple. Maybe those that monolithically castigate 1.4 billion people are recalcitrant idiots, the true image of what they think the other is, the actual ultra evil that's created its own axis in which it fiendishly rules without knowing. That was a new piece. We had to ad-lib a little at the end. I like to do a lot of new pieces, because I don't like to pick on my friends that still do poems from 2003. No, okay, that was a joke. So I like to write because I get angry a lot. Sometimes it comes out in different ways. This next poem was called Israel, America, Iraq, a Rambling Poem 2 because I'm super original, and then I call stuff untitled or put a 2 at the end of it. It's like sequels. I hope it's better than the first. You can't leave. They stay for the whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. How funny. And thank you for the poetry support. I can't remember the second girl, her name. Where'd you go? Oh, Christ. She bounced. She's a performer and bouncer. I hate those people. I'm just kidding. I love those people. She seems really nice. I like her poetry. So this is called Israel, America, Rambling Poem 2. It's pretty self-explanatory. It kind of goes into that, are we all humans or are some of us not? I'm disgusted by terrorism. Backwards animals who have no value for human life. Produce propaganda videos to disseminate their message, prey on the weakest in society, infect children, recruit fighters like expendable ants in their ideological struggle. You know who I'm talking about. Soldiers who drop bunker-busting bombs on mosques and university, decry the Middle East, but follow authority closer than dictatorial rule, think stripes and codes rather than decency and humanity give them worth in this world. I've seen one too many Facebook invites by jingoistic kids I went to high school and grade school with. Couldn't wait to get in some trigger time, hunt down towelheads and hajis like venison. And when some Marines' grenade launcher catapulted 120 mini bombs per minute, took out 17 houses and 14 schoolgirls, I'm supposed to feel bad that he can't see his wife and daughter on Christmas. Respect his service when he comes back to the States, a murderer who destroyed a country full of daughters and wives that he'll never see Eid. We're so quick to honor our troops, but don't dare mention the widows, the trembling father crying, immersed in his wife's charred flesh, a fetus blown out of her stomach. The soldier said kicking down the door was too risky. Where's the love for the 25-year-old Iraqi man whose car was riddled with American-made bullets, pained face and surprised look like grabbing for sky, falling out of 110-story towers? As long as we don't affect our interests, we'll shout out Darfur, Rwanda, and the need for antiretrovirals. Look at people as aid packages who can't compete, rather than ravaged lands perfecting paradigms of imperialism and propaganda. Where's that right-wing Zionist trying to save the Congo, combat Lev in Angola, genocide in northern Uganda? Where's the humanity before the machetes are raised and proxy forces put into place? King, Mandela, and Gandhi aren't meant to be easy reference platitudes to make you feel better at night. Help you forget that uncomfortable poem Americans don't want to face, will worship American idols, but have no value for human life. And yet all I hear are 20-somethings telling me they just aren't into politics. I wonder what they'd say at their parents' eulogy after they were blown up into 386 different pieces. I'm sure they wouldn't discuss things, because politics isn't their thing. Politics isn't our thing. While we reach out for freedom and justice, we're defined as political to undermine our suffering, create notion of two sides and equal conflict, cover up our dispossession and burn down villages. We're political so you can ignore us, delegitimize and forget us, but we're human beings coming through the window reflecting stillborn images. We're voices chiming in choirs and temples. We're life that won't be forgotten. We're here and won't go away. We're the world's shiver. It's cold out here. And whether you like it or not, we're coming inside.
That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller, and this is The Struggle. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller, and this is The Struggle.